Good morning. Welcome, everyone, to this gathering this morning. Welcome to those of us in the room who have made their way into this circle this morning to be in community, and welcome to all those who might be at home or elsewhere joining us online. You are equally part of this community, and we welcome you as part of the circle this morning. We are a bunch of spiritual seekers who happen to be gathered in community and united and uniting that way. And it is important for us to recognize that we are, all of us, welcome and belong. That no matter who we are folks who do our best to include, to welcome, to live in the world in ways that bring people together, that focus on our connections, each with another. And so, as always, we recognize that when we are community, we are all of these people. We are all sizes and all ages. We're all cultures and colors and all genders and sexualities. We're all religions, or many or none. We're all abilities, all types, all statuses. We're all people, and so welcome to each and every one of you. In November, we've been celebrating all the ways that SSUC gives to us and the many ways that we give to SSUC, and we're reminded that despite what advertisers and consumer culture would have us believe, we live in a world of abundance. There is enough for all of us. There's enough time, there's enough money, there's enough love, there's enough connection to sustain us all. And when we live that way, we change not only ourselves, but each other and our communities and our world. Every generosity that flows from the spirit and mindset of abundance, today we continue this idea with the recognition that where that generosity flows is how we make a difference in the work of peace, in the work of justice. Even though it might seem futile at times, this is who we are and what we're about. This week, just a reminder, you've received a letter that shares our thanks for all the support that you've given in the last year and our plans that might get you excited for what's to come in 2024. If you didn't get that letter in the mail or last Sunday, there are extra copies on the table. I invite you to take one. There's lots to get excited about in 2024. We'll begin enacting the vision that we together came up with that will move us into the future in terms of our direction and our vision and our staffing. We will celebrate our 25th affirming anniversary in January of 2024. There will be many, many things to be excited about, and the ongoing work that we're about, of course, will continue and probably be enhanced. So you've received an invitation to respond how you will respond to that excitement and to what is in front of us, not just with your money, but with your time, with your energy, with your ideas, all that's to come in the coming year. So invite you to return those forms, if you could, into the foyer or by the office or online in our secure digital forms. Take time to think about this, all the ways that you might help us be the best community that we can be together in the coming year. And as we go through this month, we're going to hear stories from you folks. Different people will share with us stories of what giving means to them, how they've received from this community, how they give to it, and hopefully it will inspire us to make a difference in the year ahead together. So as I invite you to do that, I'll share a few other invitations to get us going as well. I want to invite each and every one of you to consider staying for lunch today. It's our second Sunday Affirm Brunch, where we have community for the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. and allies. And I should hope that that's all of us. So we will have lunch today, a catered lasagna meal. There are gluten-free vegetarian options available. Consider staying. And if you're staying, and if you're able, consider helping us by throwing up a few tables or popping into the kitchen to see if there's anything you can do to help. It takes a village, not just to raise a child, but to put on a lunch. Then next Sunday, you can also stay, and there will also be food, although next week it's going to be coffee, tea, and bannock to go along with our conversation and learning about something going on in the United Church of Canada, and that is a remit, which is basically an every congregation referendum regarding the issue of establishing an autonomous national Indigenous organization. Come and learn, come and ask questions, and help as we move our way toward casting our congregation's vote in that area. And last but not least, it seems like a long way away, but it isn't. December 2nd is our artisan market and tea shop, and there's still a need for you to contribute by way of your favorite goodies and cookies that will be sold at our SSUC table at this market. So please sign up. There's a special Christmas table in the foyer, or send an email or get in touch with us if you can contribute your baking spectaculars for December 2nd. That's it from me. Let's carry on. Let's enter into our time together. Singing often does that. It helps us to say, okay, we put away the business. We focus our time now on why we're here together. And let's focus and contemplate that we all have something to live for beyond ourselves. We'll sing together into our time.
it working? Yes, it is. I am May Kellerman, and I am today's gathering companion. Every time we gather together in this circle, or wherever we are at home or online, we light a candle as a symbol of community and love. As our eyes are drawn towards the candle, let us help us to focus our attention on the now, letting slip our worldly cares, even if it is just for this little while. Every time we gather, we acknowledge the land that we are gathering on. This is part of our path to reconciliation, and I hope you will allow me and indulge me in a mild digression from the standard. When we first moved to Canada, we lived in Sarnia in southwestern Ontario, not far from the Stony Point Ojibwe band lands. The newspapers were still full of the aftermath of the Ipperwash Provincial Park standoff, which had taken place on September the 4th, 1995. It took us quite some time to understand the full picture, and for those of you who are not familiar with the crisis, here's a very condensed version. During World War II, the Canadian government expropriated the land on which the park was established for use as a military camp. This was done over the protestations of the band that this was a burial site of their ancestors. The government promised to return the land after the war, a promise they did not fulfill. In September of 1995, band members staged a peaceful protest in the park. The police, under instructions from the provincial government and the specific direction of the Premier, Mike Harris, entered the park to remove the expletive Indians. The police shot and killed one of the protest leaders, Dudley George, who was armed with a stick. A public inquiry was launched into the Ipperwash standoff 8 years later. The claims of the band were found to be entirely valid, and the courts ruled that the land be returned to the band and restitution be paid. The land was conditionally returned in 2007, with full control being granted in 2009. Restitution was paid out in full in 2016. The wheels of justice do indeed grind slowly. This saga gave us a sad but illuminating glimpse into the injustices of colonialism and post-colonialism suffered by our Indigenous brethren. We have a long, long way to go before full healing can take place. And our acknowledgement every week that we are gathered on the traditional lands of First Nations and Métis people plays a small part in the process. May we all find ways to further the slow, difficult, but also very important road to wholeness.
Okay, time for all ages, which means I invite you to come to the carpet, young and old, tall and small. You're welcome. And I'll use my stump. Hi, everyone. I've got a story that I started last week. Now, some of you were here last week and some of you were not. So I'm going to give you a quick update, okay? This is a story called The Quilt Maker's Gift, and it's by Jeff Brumbo. Pictures are by Gail DeMarkin. And we learned of this woman who spends all of her time making these beautiful quilts, and she gives them to people who need them, people who are grateful, people who are cold. Then we also met this king guy, Boo. He kind of looks grumpy like this. And the king wanted everyone in the kingdom to give him presents for his birthday, but once a year wasn't enough, so he decided to have 2 birthdays a year so he could get presents twice. He had so many things that they filled up the all the rooms in his castle. When he learned about the woman who made quilts, he said, "I want one of those." And she said, "No, you can't have one because you're not cold, you're not grateful, you have everything you need, you don't get one." So we left off this story with him sending soldiers to her little cabin, and she said, "I will give you a quilt if you do something. If you give away everything you have, if you make presents of everything in your castle, then when you give it all away, I'll give you a quilt." Well, the king was not happy to hear that. So, here we go. We're continuing the story. What picture are we on? Oh, yes, okay. So, the king was now very angry. He marched the woman down through the town and up another mountain where he had his royal iron makers shape a thick bracelet of iron. Then they chained her to a rock in a cave with a sleeping bear. Oh, nasty, hey? Once more, the king asked her for a quilt, and once more, she refused. "No quilt for you." "Very well, then," the king replied, "I'll leave you here, and when the bear wakes up, I'm sure he will make a very fine breakfast out of you." Later, when the bear's eyes opened and he saw the woman in his cave, he stood on his mighty hind legs and gave a roar that rattled her bones. She looked up at him and sadly shook her head. "It's no wonder you're so grouchy," the quilt maker said. "You've got nothing but rocks to rest your head on. Bring me an armful of pine needles, and with my shawl I'll make you a great big pillow." And that is what she did. No one had ever been so kind to the bear before, so he broke the iron bracelet and asked her to spend the night in his cave. Lovely. Now, although the king was very good at being greedy, he was very bad at being mean. All that night he couldn't sleep because he was thinking about this woman in the cave with a bear. Oh my, what have I done?" he wailed. So he woke up his soldiers, and they all marched in their pajamas up to the cave to save her. But when they arrived, the king found the quilt maker and the bear having breakfast of berries and honey. Now, the king lost it. He completely forgot about feeling sorry and became angry all over again. He ordered the royal island makers, I didn't know there was such a thing. He ordered the royal island makers to build an island barely big enough for the woman to stand on her tiptoes. There's the island right there. Right there. Shortly after he left, the quilt maker... Oh, wait, I missed something. Once again, the king asked her for a quilt, and once again she said, No. "Very well," the king replied, "tonight when you're too tired to stand and you lie down to sleep, you'll drown." And the king left her alone on the tiny island. This is very mean. Shortly after he left, the quilt maker saw a sparrow flying across the Great Lake. A cold, fierce wind was blowing, and it didn't look like the poor bird would make it to shore. So the quilt maker called to the bird, and she stopped to rest on her shoulder. The poor, tired sparrow was shivering, so the woman quickly made her a coat from scraps of her purple vest. I wonder if she has like a needle tucked in her clothes somewhere. When she was warmed up and the wind had stopped, the bird flew off. But she was very grateful to the quilt maker for what she had done. Soon the sky darkened as the air filled with a large cloud of sparrows. Thousands of wings beating together, they swooped down. They lifted the woman in their little beaks, and they carried her safely to shore. Well, I didn't include this picture up there, but you can see all these birds lifting her up. What happens next? Again that night, the king couldn't sleep. Well, he better decide. Is he mean or isn't he? I mean, really. The king couldn't sleep because he was thinking about the woman alone on the island. Oh no, oh my, what have I done? He moaned. So he woke up his sleepy soldiers again, and they marched in their pajamas down to the lake to set the woman free. But when they arrived, she was sitting on a tree limb, sewing tiny purple coats for all the sparrows. Oh. I give up, the king shouted. What must I do for you to give me a quilt? Well, don't you think he knows? What's he have to do? He has to give away his stuff. Yes, yes. She said 1,000,000 times. Okay. As I said, the woman answered, give away all the things you own, and I'll sew a quilt for you. And with each gift that you give, I'll add another piece to the quilt. I can't do that, cried the king. I love all my wonderful, beautiful things. Exactly. Oh, well, see, the woman is asking the same question as you. But if they don't make you happy, the woman asked, what good are they? That's true, the king sighed. And he thought about what she'd said for a long, long time. So long that weeks went by. Oh, all right, he finally muttered. Maybe I'll try. But no promises. To be continued. It's a long book. You'll have to come back next week to find out what happens. Now, let me tell you, this story is so good because this woman is asking the king to do something very difficult. But I wonder if the woman is asking all of us to think about something very difficult. Are all of our things making us happy? And what's really important?
I want to donate all of my things, but my sisters keep keeping their stuff.
I see. This is challenging. Well, when someone wants to give their stuff away, but their sisters keep saying, no, keep them, it's very difficult. It's okay. In almost every house, there's a saver and a giver-awayer. It's universal, my friend. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We'll see what happens, and we'll see what else we can learn from this story next time, okay? You're invited to Kid Spirit if you'd like. Ariane and Daisy are awaiting. I want to take us back a few years to an ad that appeared on TV in 1997. Apple developed an ad campaign titled Think Different. Yes, they were using it to sell their, at the time, new revolutionary computers. iPhones didn't exist yet. But sometimes, you get all those big, well-paid brains in a room pitching inspiring ad ideas, and just sometimes they succeed in doing something like that. Here is the way it appeared on TV in 1997.
Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them, because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
I feel like there's maybe something inspiring in there to become a misfit, to become a rebel, a troublemaker, a round peg in a square hole, the ones who see things differently. And there's something to being just crazy enough to think that we can change the world, and then become the ones who do. I've brought something to show you today. This is really something just very simple. This exists in our storage room here in the church. I brought you this bin with a bunch of blankets in it. I'm not taking them all out, don't worry. These are our community comfort blankets. These have been made by someone in the community. Maybe you've had a hand in making one of them. These are given to those in our community who are experiencing time in the hospital or challenging times of some kind or another, a journey of healing, perhaps a journey toward death. On them is a little card that's pinned to each one, and on that card is written, "May you who receive this blanket be cradled in hope, kept in joy, graced with peace, and wrapped with love," from your community of SSUC. I also want to share with you that I've talked to a couple of people in the last week who marched in solidarity with those who have lost loved ones to war and called to an end to violence in Palestine last Saturday. Refusing to do nothing, these are ones who found it in them to do something. Stand with, march with, hold a sign, be present. I'll tell you also that over the course of the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've had a remarkable number of conversations with people that are dealing with unimaginable challenges in their life. These are folks for whom every day is about confronting obstacles that most of us have no idea they're confronting. Obstacles that weren't expected, weren't welcome, and yet have become a part of what it means to get up every morning and face the day. And they keep getting up every morning, staring it down, persevering through it, and facing the day. We are, all of us, ordinary people. And in the end, many of us, all of us, are accomplishing extraordinary things. Often one life at a time. Maybe starting with our own, by merely getting up in the morning and saying, it'll be rough, but I'm going to do it. We all know someone in this ordinary heroes category, and most of us probably won't point at ourselves. But we actually all are ordinary heroes that do extraordinary things with whatever we have. Our time, a word, a facial expression, an act, anything really. There's a simple story found in 3 out of 4 of the Gospel accounts, and it's about Jesus recruiting people to help him with what he had in mind for his way to impact the world. Recruiting Peter and Andrew, ordinary workers, were fishermen. Wanted to recruit them to travel with him, to learn, to do something different. And when he spoke to them, he said, "You've been fishing fish. How about we fish for people? How about we teach wisdom? How about we find people that we can help or heal or comfort? How about we spend our time upturning the unfair and the unjust and doing something of impact?" And surprisingly, these people just kind of threw down their nets in their boats and said, "Oh, okay, let's do that." They left what they had, sometimes their families. It says they left their families, they left their work, and they decided, "Yep, I'll travel around with you." The stories tell us that Jesus thought that they were, despite their ordinariness, the perfect people to do this work, to change the worlds of those around them. And, you know, this is a bit helpful to me, to be honest, and a bit hopeful. Because if I'm feeling a little bit helpless or unproductive, if I face a challenge that I can't see the resolution of, even accomplishing one ordinary task seems like a Herculean effort. Reading about these everyday, mundane people we call disciples and their times of cluelessness, I mean, they did have their moments. They did have the wrong attitude most of the time. They did exhibit generally poor decision-making a lot of the time. It encourages me to move forward, to think that maybe I can make it through with all my wrong decisions and poor attitudes and generally getting it wrong. I, too, can make a difference, even if I need it explained to me 5 times. Or watch that YouTube how-to video on repeat because I can't quite figure out how to fix that dang thing I'm trying to fix. I can do something rather than nothing, even if it takes me a while. That should be encouragement for all of us. Ordinary folks that can do something, anything that's productive, that is helpful, that is meaningful. I'll share with you some even older wisdom than that. The prophet Isaiah, in the Hebrew writings, rants and rails against fake religiousness. And I'm on Isaiah's side here. I think we all are. You know, that religion that is like empty prayers. You say one thing one day and then you're doing the opposite the next day. Things people do just for show, to make it look good. Isaiah says no to that, says And then Isaiah challenges folks with what would be a better way. And this is the writing from the first chapter of Isaiah. Learn to do good. Work for justice. Help the down and out. Stand up for the homeless. Plead for the defenseless. In other words, forget all this business about looking like you're doing the right thing. And just be the ordinary, mundane person who strives to do these things. The world needs this. On this Remembrance Day weekend, we do remember those who took up the call to learn, to work, to help, to stand, to plead in the efforts of freedom, democracy, decency. We hold up those around us who continue to stand up and speak for peace, for ceasefire, for humanity and decency. It seems like the long story of our tradition is think differently about all this. Let's continue the legacy within this community of putting our hands and feet to work. Let's let our dollars speak our principles. Let's work together to do the hard work, the work of making a difference. And we can call it hard work because it is, but let's not forget that it's fun work too. It is fun to be a rebel. It is fun to be a round peg in a square hole. It is fun to stand up to power and say, no, that's not the way. It's fun to work together in whatever we do to make a meaningful difference. Maybe that's, heating up lasagnas for lunch or running the dishwasher because we've all eaten on the dishes. Those seem like such ordinary, simple things. But they're incredibly important because they are about the overall work of making a difference to people. Small things, big things, all of us together. So, it's really something, just to conclude, it's something to be with you on this journey of finding ways to put our love into meaningful action. It is pretty exciting seeing all the ways that you are finding to do that. It's a unique perspective to see that, and I'm sure many of you see that too. You see people doing different things at different times, but it's pretty exciting to see how all of the ways that we're doing it comes together. We who are crazy enough to think that we can change the world and becoming the ones that do. So there's no better way, really, of talking about this and illustrating this than hearing from you. So in today's moment, where we hear from a person within our community about all of the ways that us ordinary people make a difference and give and do what we can, I'm going to invite today Matthew to come forward and share a little bit with us from his perspective. Thanks, Matthew.
Good morning. Well, my name is Matthew Billick, and I was going to talk to you today about the importance of volunteering. Chris asked me to do a chat about this topic, and then it got me really thinking more about volunteering and why do I volunteer? Why do we volunteer? I actually didn't really know. I had to think about it for a little bit, bounce ideas off my wife, and then I decided that this is kind of what I come up with. This is why I enjoy volunteering and donating. Volunteering is a heartbeat of a compassionate community. It transcends individual interests, connecting us to a shared purpose of making a positive impact. When we volunteer, we contribute not only to the well-being of others, but our collective strength here at SSUC. It fosters a sense of unity and empathy, breaking down barriers that divide us. It allows us to see beyond our differences and recognize the common thread that binds us is together, that we are human beings. In the act of giving our time and skills without expecting anything in return, we're creating powerful ripples of kindness and goodwill to build out from this place that we call home here. Volunteering enriches the individual too. It's given me opportunities for personal growth here, skill development, and a profound sense of fulfillment. And it could be like really small skills too, like just trying to work with Chris. That's a small skill. So very important one though. Sorry, Chris. Through volunteering, we discover that strength comes from serving others, realizing that our actions, no matter how small, can make a significant difference. Volunteering is not just an option, it's a responsibility that we owe to the world that we live in. By dedicating our time and our energy causes to greater than ourselves, we become architects of positive change and ambassadors of compassion. SSUC has given us all the opportunity to tap into this transformative power. And for that, I'm deeply grateful. Thank you.
To make a true change in the world, I pledge.
To be curious, to encourage others, to support all.
And to be a kind, caring, considerate person, I pledge to love.
Only then can I be a catalyst for change, real change in the world.
Join our hands
This has been a week to acknowledge the peacekeepers and pacifists, those who serve and served on the front lines, and those who protest and march, those who volunteered and those who waited anxiously at home, those who hoped that things would get better, and those who could not stand by and wait. This has been a week to remember and to give thanks for those who believed that the world could be a better place, who gave their lives, trusting that others could and would carry the torch.
This table is a place where we remember and lament the bitter taste of hatred, the withered grapes of prejudice and cruelty, the sour grapes of sexism, racism, ageism, the stale and poison of war and violence, the occupation and denial of human rights. But this table is also a place where we share the sweetness of hope, where people step up to speak truth, understanding, mutuality, perseverance, and peace.
This is a place where acts of justice begin, where we organize and energize, where we harmonize and strategize. This is a place where we discover and share what is required for life to flourish, a place where we nourish our dreams for peace.
So then this table is also a place to gather in solidarity with all who dream for a more fair and just world, with those for whom the systems of our culture are not working, the ones with whom we will stand, and where we recommit ourselves to the values we'll enact in the world, making a difference in our own lives, that of our families, our friends, and our circles of influence.
And so we're invited to this table to share in the earth's gift of bread and grapes, to bring our commitment to gratitude and compassion, to thanksgiving and justice, to strengthening the bonds of our common humanity.
Breaking bread with one another is an ancient ritual. But we hope that we might find new meaning and purpose in the symbols and act of sharing food, just as we share encouragement, intentions, values, and purpose with each other. So we're all invited. We don't need to be a member of this church or any church. This ritual doesn't bind you or commit you to anything other than what meaning and commitment you make to it yourself. You may come here to receive a cup that has within it a piece of bread and a few grapes. Or you may participate in your own way in your seat and make your commitments to justice and peace and the values we share in your own way. But know this, we're all invited. Regardless of where we are, where we've been, or where we're going, regardless of who we are and how we identify, this is a ritual of belonging. So know that you belong to life and to each other, just as you are. We're all invited to share this food for the journey. There will be 3 stations. Someone will be just in front of each section. And if you need a gluten-free option, we ask that you select the station that will be closest to the piano. We're all welcome. We all can come. Food for the journey and our commitment to our place in the world.
As we extinguish this candle, we remember that we can and indeed must be a light, sharing our love and compassion with those that we encounter each and every day. Family, friends, co-workers, people we serve, and those that serve us. And to help us on our way, we strengthen our intentions to live a more meaningful life. We join together with hearts full of gratitude and eyes open to see the places of abundance in our lives. We engage our inner journeys towards hearts open to receiving and hands open to generosity. May our work and play, our time and energy, our resources and priorities be put to use toward a world of justice and belonging. Through every aspect of our lives, may we lay a foundation of responsiveness, responsibility, and rejoicing. May we work to make it so.
Together